Good to see you. First, let's talk about the announcement that the President Mubarak made yesterday that he will not seek re-election. Obviously, the protests continue today. Is that going to be enough to appease the protesters?
Absolutely not. I think if he's done this announcement last Tuesday and January 25th, this would have worked. But now it's too late, too little too late. People want him out, and this is what the protesters have been asking for, is for him to leave now and for a transition government. So it's not going to make any difference at the moment. We can see that the protests have continued and will continue, and probably next Friday is going to be a big day.
What else do they want? I mean, if he were to come out today and say, all right, I'm leaving now, do the protesters clear the streets, or what else is at stake here?
Well, what's expected is the moment he would leave, there'll be a transition government, and that would not be the people that he appoints as well. That would be a coalition of the opposition as well that would be involved in this opposition, in this coalition, and they will be able to first of all, change the constitution of Egypt, where somebody will not rule the country for 30 years unchallenged in dictatorship. So this is going to be the main request. Now, the other thing that probably will follow is holding accountable the people who were part of the corruption in Egypt. And there are a lot, especially people who were in the former government, businessmen who ran the government so they can make billions of dollars.
You specialize in looking at this area. Who might come after Mubarak? I don't get the sense that here in this country, we or our government has a really good handle on who the likely successors are.
True. In the U.S., nobody knows, but mainly it's because the U.S. has blindly supported Mubarak in the last 30 years. And even on January 25th, we heard Secretary of State Clinton saying that we think Egypt is stable. So there was a really blind eye on what's happening in Egypt. There are many options of what Egyptians could do. However, whoever is going to replace him now should not be the person that's going to stay in power. There are some names that have been thrown out, such as Baradei, who is a good bureaucrat, who could actually, he's a good person to run a project of reform in the Egyptian government and to reform the constitution. But there are many other Egyptians who could do that. There are names, people are talking about creating a committee of especially the young people who has been running those protests. There are talks about the head of the Supreme Court in Egypt, that he maybe could lead that transition. So there are many options. And I think one of the fears in America has been that the Islamic Brotherhood will take over, and this is very unlikely. And I think the Egyptian regime has played the fear of Americans, of Israel, of many other Western countries by saying the Islamic Brotherhood will take over, but they haven't been really the ones who led the protest, and they're not the ones who even leading at this moment.
We're seeing more and more unrest in that region in general, in Tunisia, Jordan. Is it likely or possible that this could spread to other countries, Yemen, Libya?
Absolutely. We already know that in Yemen, the president have announced that he will not run again for presidency, and he said that his son also will not run for it. So it will unfold a lot of things that we don't know yet how much the effect will be in the Middle East. Just like in Egypt, nobody expected it to happen 2 weeks ago. We see what happened, and I think many other Arab countries could expect some riots, mainly because, and demonstrations, mainly because if you rule these people for so long in dictatorship, and then the economics is going very bad, where there's a vast majority of young people who are unemployed, these people are going to want to do something. They're not going to sit home and do nothing.
Is this a time when the U.S. could seek to gain some additional leverage or influence in the Middle East, or does the U.S. just sit back and watch what happens?
The U.S. needs to engage at the moment, but it needs to engage in the right way. It needs to engage with the people. I think America lost part of its credibility with supporting dictatorships, and supporting it both financially and in statements such as what happened last week with Secretary Clinton. And people will remember that, just like people will remember the words and the silence of their enemies and of their friends in these moments. And I think America needs to engage with the people, need to be on the right side of history. And if changes will happen and people feel that America has stood with their dictators, it will not be good for America in the long run.
All right, Aziz Abu Sarah with George Mason University. Thanks for coming in. Good to have your analysis on it. We appreciate it. Allison.